Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the Mining Association of BC's Mining Innovation Challenge webinar. I'm Michael Goring, President and CEO of the Mining Association of British Columbia, and I'm very pleased to acknowledge that I'm joining you today from the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations. And I'm delighted we have more than 55 interested parties from around the world to learn more about our Mining Innovation Challenge, which is focused on reducing water use. Next slide, please. We have 45 minutes today, so I will jump right in by setting out our program. Our intention is to leave 20 minutes for questions at the end. The webinar is being recorded and it will be posted on Foresight's website for review and reference. Before we get to the Q&A, I'll briefly introduce our challenge team, our sponsors and supporters, as well as our fairness monitor. I'll set some context for those not familiar with mining in British Columbia, and you'll hear from our sponsors why this challenge is important to them and the mining industry in BC and across Canada. We'll discuss the key dates, eligibility criteria, and the application and evaluation process. You'll hear from PricewaterhouseCoopers, our fairness monitor, and finally, we will then move to our Q&A. Slide. This challenge would not be possible without the full support of our industry and association membership. MABC is grateful we have two global industry leaders as key sponsors of our challenge, Newcrest Mining and Teck Resources. With us today are Nat Adams, External Relations and Social Performance Manager for North America at Newcrest Mining, and Doug Brown, Vice President Communications at Teck Resources. We are fortunate to have a number of additional partners. We're very pleased to have the Government of British Columbia and Natural Resources Canada as lead partners and supporters. We're fortunate to have PwC Canada as the fairness monitor for the challenge. And with us today will be Dan O'Brien. Dan is a partner with PwC focused on sustainability and climate change and is no stranger to these types of events. And we're pleased to have the Bradshaw Research Institute for Minerals and Mining from the University of British Columbia, the Global Mining Guidelines Group, and the Mining Suppliers Association of BC as our ecosystem partners. Importantly, our competition coordinator is Foresight Canada, Canada's leading clean tech accelerator. Joining us from Foresight today are David Sanguinetti, Foresight's Vice President of Technology, and Siddharth Chatpalawar, the project manager for our challenge. Perhaps I could ask everyone to turn their cameras on, please. Foresight has substantial experience operating challenges and will be the day-to-day operational leaders for the Innovation Challenge. Next slide, please. We do have a number of participants joining us from around the world today. Let me take a few moments to provide some context about BC and Canadian mining and why this challenge is important to our industry. First, as a trade association, the Mining Association of BC represents British Columbia's 16 major operating mines and 2 smelters. And we've been the voice of mining in British Columbia since 1901. Today, we're leading the way on Indigenous reconciliation and helping the world transition to a cleaner, low-carbon future, responsibly, sustainably, and safely. BC is the #1 producer of copper and steelmaking coal in Canada and the only producer of molybdenum. We're also a significant producer of aluminum, gold, lead, zinc, and other important mineral products, including, for example, germanium and indium, both of which are critical components in a variety of advanced technologies, such as solar panels, and importantly today, thermal scan thermometers. Our mines and smelters support more than 35,000 workers across the province of BC, and mining supports a vibrant supply chain of approximately 3,700 small, medium, and Indigenous businesses in 215 BC communities through a purchase of almost $3 billion in goods and services on an annual basis. Our mining industry meets some of the world's toughest laws and regulations that safeguard our environment and the health and safety of our workforce. BC's mines and smelters are some of the lowest GHG emission-intensive mines and smelters in the world. And we share a common commitment in embracing innovation and high technology to operate more efficiently, waste less, conserve more, optimize the responsible extraction of crown resources, and minimize our environmental footprint. And that's what brings us here today. All of our members share a common commitment to continuous improvement. Our industry is looking forward to the new ideas that the best and brightest tech and clean tech leaders will bring forward through our Innovation Challenge. We're seeking solutions to reduce water use intensity in mining operations. Our two-phase Innovation Challenge includes a $150,000 Canadian prize for the winner and the potential to pilot the winning technology at an operating mine if there's a good fit. Reducing water use is an excellent and important choice for our first Innovation Challenge. All mines require water to function, and finding new ways to limit the amount of water required for our operations is a tangible example of our industry's commitment to environmental, social, and governance performance, and to meeting the expectations of local and Indigenous communities. Being a rainforest, you might think BC has an excess of water and all of our operations are in a positive water balance all the time. And that may be true to a certain degree in some regions, but our province is ecologically diverse and larger than most US states and countries, and includes very arid and dry regions. Conserving water and keeping clean water clean is imperative everywhere, and the same holds true for our industry in British Columbia and right across Canada. Next slide, please. On the screen, you can now see the challenge statement. In short, the Mining Innovation Challenge, Reducing Water Use, is looking for new solutions that would enable operations to achieve the same mineral recovery with less water use. Importantly, the challenge is an opportunity for the BC mining industry to collaborate with innovators and experts who may not regularly work alongside the mining sector. We're seeking a transformational outcome that can be delivered through technology currently under development or available, but not currently applied in mining. Reducing water use is among the top priorities for the mining industry as it continues to adopt and implement responsible practices within its operations. Next slide, please. So now I'd like to take a moment and welcome our two sponsors to say a few words about the challenge and its importance from their corporate perspectives. I'd first like to welcome Doug Brown of Teck Resources to make a few remarks. Doug?
Thanks, Michael. Teck is proud to be a sponsor for this challenge. We know very well the importance of innovation and technology for the continued success of the mining industry. For more than 100 years, Teck has been contributing to the development of better ways of mining. And today we're working hard to find new approaches that reduce our environmental footprint, improve efficiency, and help us to continue to responsibly produce essential metals and minerals. And we frequently partner with other companies in this work who bring expertise and new ideas to the table and collaborate to put those breakthroughs into practice on the ground at our operations. Water management in particular is a critical part of our innovation focus. As you may know, mining is highly water intensive, and we are always looking for ways to improve our water management practices and to reduce water use. And that kind of innovation is to improve environmental performance in mining is increasingly important as we work to supply the metals and materials essential to a low carbon future. So we're proud to partner with the BC government, with MABC, Foresight, and Newcrest in this challenge. And we're very excited to see the ideas and creativity that this will bring forth to improve water use in our industry. Thanks.
Thank you, Doug. Great to have Teck Resources on board. And now I'd like to ask Nat Adams of Newcrest Mining to briefly share his remarks on what this challenge means to Newcrest. Nat.
Thanks, Michael. Newcrest is very proud to support this Mining Innovation Challenge.
Excellent. Thank you, Nat.
All good?
Very good.
Great. Yeah, we're really proud to support this Mining Innovation Challenge, and we're very grateful for MABC's efforts in coordinating this. I would like to acknowledge that the presence of the Red Chris Mine within the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Tahltan Nation. For those of you who may not be familiar with Newcrest, we are the largest gold producer listed on the ASX. We have operations in Australia, Papua New Guinea, Canada, and a number of development projects in the Americas. When you consider the sheer scale of the operations that we're running and some of the technical challenges that our operations present, particularly deep underground and around the milling process, and then you also combine that with the fact that our social license to operate rests on our environmental stewardship. Newcrest is never standing still with regards to seeking out and deploying technological innovations. If a better way can be found even to incrementally increase value and efficiency or incrementally reduce the environmental footprint of our operations, this is something that we will pursue and embrace and commercialize wherever it makes sense. I can cite a recent example here. This past August, Newcrest and a number of other big names in the industry signed partnerships agreement with Blue Vein, which is a company that's developed bespoke technology to allow grid power to be supplied directly to an electric mining vehicle's motors while simultaneously charging onboard batteries. This removes the need for battery swapping or stationary vehicle charging, and also allows the use of smaller and lower cost batteries. So in the grand scheme of things, this might seem like a pretty niche innovation, but when you adopt it and apply it at scale, the potential bottom line impacts across the industry as a whole can be enormous. So we take a view that near-term innovations around reducing water use intensity are very much worth betting on. If it's successful in reducing the industry's environmental footprint, and if it's good for our communities and for the landscapes that we're operating in, that's good for Newcrest. So we're really looking forward to seeing what develops here. Thanks.
Thank you, Nat. And no doubt with Nat and Doug, both their comments underscore the commitments of their respective companies to employing innovation and environmental stewardship. So we'll move to the next slide, and I will outline the key dates for this challenge. So essentially, we're running a two-stage challenge. The first and current stage began on December 9 last year with the official launch event, and it ends on March 28th when the finalist will be announced. Please note the expression of interest deadline is not flexible. The application portal on the Foresight website will not allow any submissions or modifications after 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on February 18th, 2022. Finalists again will be announced on March 28th, 2022. The second stage will begin April 1st when the full project proposal stage opens. There is no limit or a maximum number of full project proposal finalists who will compete for the award. The full project proposal submission deadline is May 12th, and the winner will be announced, on June 29th. We'll move on now to our eligibility criteria. Next slide, please. Now, to be eligible for this challenge, technologies must have reached technology readiness level 6 or higher by February 18th, the application date. It is the responsibility of the applicants to ensure their technologies are not infringing on patented technologies. Next slide, please. Just to highlight a few points in our application process. Again, all applicants must submit their proposals through the portal. Applications emailed to the competition mailbox will unfortunately not be accepted. And the deadline for expressions of interest is 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on February 18th. That is 4 weeks from today. Okay, next slide, please. Applications will be evaluated by a panel of independent technical evaluation reviewers. They'll measure the technology based on the evaluation criteria. The reviewers will select the best applications to move to the second stage of the challenge and submit a detailed full project proposal. Next slide, please. We'll talk about evaluation criteria. All eligible and complete applications will be evaluated on 4 essential things: technical excellence, innovation, additional impact, resources, and implementation. First, technical excellence. The technology should be unique and not business as usual, and it should clearly demonstrate its ability to reduce water use in mining operations. Second, innovation. Applications will be evaluated on the merits of the technology compared to solutions currently available. It should also specify the benefits it is expected to deliver to the mining industry. Additional impact. Applications should highlight the technology's potential impact on job creation, other environmental indicators, as well as any possible socio-economic benefits. And fourth, resources and implementation. Applications will be evaluated on the quality and viability of the project implementation plan, as well as the skills and experience of the project team. All resources, financial and non-financial, required to advance the technology should be included and set out in the proposal. Each of these criteria have been assigned weights, with the highest weight being for technical excellence at 30% and resources and implementation at 35%. Now, I'd like to move on to welcome Dan O'Brien, partner with PwC Canada, to say a few words about fairness. Dan, if you turn your video on, thank you very much, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Michael, and good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, if you're in other parts of the world. First of all, I want to say that PwC is very pleased to be a sponsor of the Mining Innovation Challenge this year, and it's a role that we're really pleased to be playing here as the fairness advisor, fairness monitor. This is a role that I've played before with other similar funding programs over the years, and as well as government procurement processes. In my role at PwC, we've been involved in the development of similar funding and grant programs over the years, and the administration of these kinds of programs. So bringing a fair bit of understanding of best practices around how these kinds of programs are administered and evaluated. In my role as the fairness monitor, I'll be looking at a number of things. First of all, the evaluation process. So evaluating if that process and whether it aligns with best practices. So in terms of things like the evaluation criteria that are being applied, the intake process, etc. We'll also be looking at the evaluators themselves, and just making sure that they're free of conflict of interest and that they are independent from the applicants as well. And then we'll be monitoring the evaluation and review process. So monitoring, playing a role as a monitor and being part of that process, responding to any questions and being involved in that. If there are any issues that are raised, so fairness concerns that are brought forward, I'll play a role in evaluating the responses and how those are being addressed. And then finally, looking at the recommendations that come out of the evaluation process and ensuring that the decisions are being applied fairly as well. So yeah, again, very pleased to be playing a role as a sponsor, and looking forward to seeing the results of the intake. I'll pass it back to you, Michael. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dan, and Mining Association of BC and Foresight very much appreciate PwC Canada contributing to our challenge as the fairness monitor. We'll move now on to just a slide with some bullets on your application, and if you require assistance with it. First, we'd ask you to please refer to the program guide and the frequently asked questions for key information and dates. They are all available on Foresight Canada's specific challenge page for our challenge here. For any questions that are not addressed in those materials, or questions that come up with you and among your team through the process, please contact us at bcminingchallenge@foresightcac.com. That email is obviously on the challenge page as well. If and when we receive questions, we will place them and the answer on the FAQ, frequently asked questions, on the website so that everybody can see the question and the answer. And that FAQ will be refreshed on a regular basis. Now, we will move into the question, and answer session. We have 20 minutes as planned for questions. I would ask everyone, if you have questions, to please use your device to raise your hand, and I will call you when it's your turn. I would ask David Sanguinetti of Foresight and Siddharth Chapalawar, our project manager, both to have their video cams on. And we will conclude after 20 minutes or when questions are complete. So we'll look now for questions from the audience. I see Vladimir Grebenyak. Please ask your question.
Hi, I'm from Ascent Systems Technologies, local in BC. So the question is, or a couple of other, should the company be BC based or not? And can it be collaborating with the companies outside of the BC?
Should the company be BC based?
Yes.
The company does not have to be BC based. There are many highly qualified companies in BC that could participate, but no, we're not excluding companies from outside of British Columbia. And yes, you could partner with companies outside of British Columbia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vladimir. I see we have a question from Andrew Sharubi. Andrew?
Yes, hello. My name is Andrew Sharubi. I'm with Telco Water, and I was just wondering if there's improvements in technology for water reuse. So instead of reducing the water being used, recycling that, would that count as an innovation here?
David, I'll turn it over to you to answer that question.
Sure. Yeah, so the metric as laid out in the FAQ is the total water consumed per ton of metal produced. So if by recycling the water, you reduce the total amount of water consumed, then absolutely that would be accepted and encouraged.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I see Bernard, you have your hand up. Please fire away.
Thank you, Michael. So there's $150,000 that goes to the winner, and then there's an opportunity to pilot. Is that $150,000 part of the cost of the piloting, or is that a separate opportunity?
That is a separate opportunity, Bernard.
Thank you.
Any other questions from our participants on our call?
Michael, there's a question in the Q&A that's been typed in here from Naeem Abbasi. Says, thank you for the information session. The challenge is specific reducing water use of it includes innovation to cleaning and reuse, particularly nature-based solutions. So I guess the if I so I guess that the question perhaps name if it would be good to make sure that we've got this right, but my understanding is you're wondering if nature-based solutions on the treating of the water would be acceptable. The objective here is not so much on treating discharge water, but on reducing the water used in the first place. So if you have a nature-based solution that allows for recycle and thus reduces the total amount of water consumed, then yes, that would be of interest. If you're simply treating water at the point of discharge, then that's not necessarily going to meet the metric that we're looking for.
Thank you for that question. And David, thank you for the answer. Do participants have any other questions? We'll give it just a moment. If there are no other questions, we will sign off and conclude. Just to remind people.
We've got another one typed here.
Another one coming in, okay.
Are companies who have already worked on a mining project allowed to apply? Absolutely. So this is open up to TRL 9, which means if this is the first application in mining, or if it's just being applied in mining and it's otherwise new, then yes, that is open to consideration. So. And as a company, if you've worked in mining and have a new technology, we would actively encourage you because you have experience in the industry.
Indeed. No further questions.
Oh, no, yeah, we do.
There we go.
Does rapid environmental monitoring for contaminants which could influence whether water is released to the environment versus tailings ponds count? I don't think so, unless you can demonstrate that you are achieving the metric that we've put in the FAQ, which is the total amount of water consumed per mass of metal produced.
Thank you for that question. Looking for hands of participants who would like to ask another question verbally. Obviously, happy to take questions in the chat box. And we'll give it just another few moments, and would remind everybody that, again, if you have questions, by all means, please send them our way through the email address that is found on the challenge website. And with that, we will move to conclude our webinar.
Oh, we've got one more. What about reducing water during the exploration phase, where it's more difficult to link to ore tonnage? That's an interesting question, because that's not it's not what we've been specifically targeting. You're welcome to apply with that, but it will be up to the reviewers to determine the impact. Feel free to make an argument, obviously, in your application as to how you see that you're reducing the total amount of water per ton of ore produced. I can see that there may be an argument if you relate it to the total tons of metal that's been identified, but I'm not going to say that I hold out a great hope for that. I'm not going to say impossible, but it's not really what the metric is targeting.
Yeah. Thank you, David. Thank you for that question. Okay. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, for taking the time to join us today. And for those who aren't in BC or West Coast time, including a few, I think, who are in Europe, where it's end of day and late, we do appreciate you taking the time to find out more about MABC's Mining Innovation Challenge, Reducing Water Use. I hope you've learned and heard today, and what you've learned and heard today will encourage your organization to submit your official expression of interest. I just note last year, the Mining Association unveiled our innovation roadmap, which is on our website if you would like to read it. One of the outcomes of that report was the recognition that we need to do a better job of bringing together organizations from across the innovation spectrum of our mining ecosystem, from academia, tech, clean tech, finance, labor, Indigenous and local communities, and government, to ensure that we're not missing out on opportunities due to a lack of connection. So this challenge is a part of that process to encourage collaboration between our sectors over the next few months and well into the future. And we're confident that there are many great new technologies or approaches that haven't yet been applied to mining out there to help reduce water use across our industry. I'm excited to see what ideas come forward through this process. And I just want, again, to thank Foresight, Clean Tech Accelerator, Newcrest, Tech Resources, PwC, and our ecosystem partners for their time and support. And we all look forward to seeing what arises through the Mining Innovation Challenge. And with that, we will close our webinar, and I hope everybody has a good day. Thank you.